While these two teams, England and New Zealand, whenever they meet, there is just no short of excitement. Once again, it was a very, very exciting knockout game, the semi-finals of the T20 World Cup. To discuss about the match, I'm joined at this hour by New Zealand High Commissioner to India, David Pine, sports broadcaster Seth Bennett and former Indian cricketer Ashok Malhotra. To you, Mr. David Pine, first 57 runs in the final 3 overs. Friends and family, are they still waking up and what are they saying?
Yeah, what a thrilling game, wasn't it? I mean, really fantastic game of cricket. And, watching it, I kind of felt New Zealand was a bit behind most of the way, and then they just did enough to hang in there and exploded at the end. So it was a fantastic game. I thought England batted beautifully, and we sort of saw how hard the conditions were. I think when New Zealand batted, and I think England had batted really well to get that score.
Seth, till about 16th over, the predictor said England's win percentage was 15%. Did you think that 2 overs could change the game completely?
Well, it's one of the things that we've talked about on this show is the fact that England were missing players and key players as well. Tamal Mills would have had 2 of those overs at the end. If you look at the bigger picture, though, there's also other players that are missing out of that squad that would have been key players come the end of the innings. And if you look at New Zealand, you go back to what was said there in that clip, the fact that New Zealand took their chances. They made the most of their opportunities, whether that's the size of the ground, whether that was the holes within that England lineup. They took their chances, and that's why they won the game. That's why they're such a really, really world-class team.
Ashok, about time that everyone in the media stops attaching tags of underdogs and dark horses to New Zealand in this ICC tournament?
Absolutely, Rika. The number of times they reach the semi-final and final is unbelievable. I don't know why do we call them dark horses? They are black caps, surely, but we can't call them dark horses because they deserve to be the winners. They are always the champions. I mean, 2019 they were in the World Cup final, Test Championship. They are the winners. So now they are in T20 World Cup finals. So how can they be called underdog? You can take them lightly at your own peril. You cannot hope to take them lightly because they might not have a superstar in their team, but the team is a superstar. Every man fights till the end. They never give up. That is their specialty. Who among all of us thought that England will lose the game till 17th over? 17th over, it was all the way England. But the way they bounced back, the way Neesham scored runs, the way Daryl Mitchell scored runs, and they finished the game 1 over before. It's unbelievable to say the least. You can't take them lightly.
They needed 60 from last 30 balls, and tonight's superstar was Daryl Mitchell, scoring 47 balls, 72. High Commissioner Pine, tell me which, according to you, was the turning point of the match?
Yeah, I think Simon Doull said that if they could get to 5 overs to go, needing 12 and over with wickets in hand, they'd be okay. And they exactly got to that point. But then that next over was fantastic, wasn't it, for England? And so I guess it was those 2 overs, the 17th and 18th, that really swung the game.
Seth, let me hear from you. What do you think was the turning point for New Zealand tonight?
Oh, it's got to be the catch, hasn't it? Surely Jonny Bairstow goes round on the boundary, makes what is potentially one of the greatest catches in T20 history, and there's been some very, very good ones. It gets ruled a 6. It could have meant there was a wicket there that maybe interrupts the flow of the innings at that point. So that has to be the turning point. But you do have to tip your cap to New Zealand. My question for the High Commissioner is, how do you celebrate? How do you celebrate in New Zealand such a magnificent win like that?
When the World Test Championship final was on, my Indian friends were saying to me that going into the last day, when things started to look promising for New Zealand, what they were worried about was that New Zealand would win, but they wouldn't be happy or they wouldn't show any emotion. And I told them of all the things you could worry about in this world, that's a strange thing. But no, I think people will be celebrating this certainly as they get up and over breakfast down home.
And will they find space in the first page of the newspaper and websites, and will they replace the rugby team at least for today or this morning?
This will be huge news in New Zealand. People love this team, and I think if they win the final, that would be enormous. But even making the final, this is the third. They've made the ICC finals in each of the 3 tournaments now, and every time it's been a very big deal back home.
Ashok, this is the team that India takes on next. They are the ones responsible for India being evicted from the tournament at an early stage. Would you say now every Indian will be waiting and hoping for them to win the World Cup now that they have reached the finals?
Definitely so. You can't take them lightly. I've been saying it again and again. You do it at your own risk. So definitely they're wonderful, wonderful side. And when you ask them how they celebrate, they're so unassuming. Look at Kane Williamson. So quiet, so unassuming. He's not jumping with joy or anything. And that is why, when during my playing days, some of our guys used to say, who's an educated Australian? They used to say a Kiwi. So that is what it is. They are very educated, unassuming, real gentlemen. If I say there are gentlemen who play cricket even now, that is the New Zealand side.
High Commissioner Pine, let me ask you, do you predict a trans-Tasmanian affair in the finals?
I wouldn't dare to pick who's going to win between Pakistan and Australia. They're both fantastic teams, aren't they? But I'm really looking forward to watching it.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Seth? Let me have a prediction from you for the 2 finalists.
I think Pakistan have been the best team outside of England playing in the tournament to date through their tournament phase, through the 12s. I thought they were unbelievable. I think Babar Azam is a phenomenal cricketer in a rich vein of form. I think Australia are going to have to be at their best and Pakistan to have a bad day for Australia to go through to the final. So I think that, my money's on Pakistan to go through.
Ashok, your 2 teams for the final now. One team we of course know has made it to the final, New Zealand. Who will be the other?
See, Pakistan is an in-form team, as Salford is saying. But the fact is Pakistan, you don't know which Pakistan team will appear on the ground. Whereas Australians know how to win the championships. They know how to reach the finals, how to play well in the World Cup. So my money is on Australia. I know, although on form looks like Pakistan, but I would still go for Australia.
I'll have to ask one question to High Commissioner Pine, since New Zealand is going to come to India right after their World Cup campaign. Any special preparations, any special celebrations planned for this team?
Well, look, it's a bit sad, isn't it, about the way things are, but those bubbles that the teams have to operate in are pretty tight these days. And I don't think we'll have very much opportunity to interact with them, but we certainly stay in touch with them, and they know we're watching.
Well, yes, and we will hope to see them put up a tough fight against whoever is the finalist on Sunday. We are all counting down to that big final of the T20 World Cup. With that, our wrap on Turning Point. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me on the broadcast this evening.